Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate you joining us. I'm Tina Madison, Deputy Court Administrator in Pima County, Tucson, Arizona. I am the, yay, Tucson! We got it. U of A, go Cats. For those of you at home, I know some of my staff are watching online. Welcome. And I'm also the president-elect of NACM, so for another 24 hours or so. Anyway, and my co-host.
Hello, I'm Kelly Hutton. I am your current vice president for another 24 hours. I hail from the fantastic state of North Dakota. There's one person here from North Dakota this year, but that's okay.
Queen of Core.
I'm lovingly referred to as the Queen of Core, so I love this stuff. Tina's going to start us off telling us a little bit about the core, though.
So the people in the room, some of you have been to core sessions, yes, through the conference. Raise your hand if you have. So you might have heard some of this already, but just to give you a little bit of background, what is the core? It is a set of curriculum that was developed by NACM, but way back when NACM started, the National Association for Court Management said, we actually need some material, we need some content, we need something to help court professionals grow within their organizations and to advance court administration. So they came up with 13 competencies, and they're put into different modules. So you see we have our principal module has public trust and confidence and the purposes and responsibilities, of course. So that's our foundation. Those are the principles that we operate under. Then there's the practice, our day-to-day things, and that's a laundry list. That's most of everything we do. Case flow, operations management, budget, HR, workforce, education, ethics, budget, and accountability and court performance. And then over in the vision side, that's that leadership, strategic planning, governance. It's where do we want our courts to go? So anybody who's gone to conferences, you've seen us have a core track. So that's identifying one of these sections, and we try to strategically place what ones have we offered, which ones have we we're at this conference. Okay, so the next conference, let's offer some of the other of the competencies. Okay.
All right, so I apologize. I'm going to stand behind the podium. I like to move more, so you'll just see me flailing my arms instead. How many of you have been to our NACM website? I hope all of you raise your hand, or my heart will break a little bit. I hope you have, Roger. So this is our main page. I'm just going to walk you through where to get to the core. We spent a lot of time over the last couple of years restructuring where it was because it was not user-friendly at all. It was awful to find things. Even I, who love the core, I couldn't find things. So we restructured it. Right now, you can go to our main page and then come over here, click on core, and there is this beautiful new website that almost asks you where you want to go. What is your journey? AI almost. It feels like it knows what we want. But so if you're here for the first time, you just want to know what programs we have, all of that's right under here in Get Started. And it talks about the core curriculum, the core champion program. There's little links below, so you just can kind of go down a rabbit hole, not quite like Instagram or the talk, but still a rabbit hole for court professionals. Oops, I hit back too many. Then right over here, if you're returning to learn more, there is the core curriculum. So this brings you to an explanation on what is the core, how can I use it, all of that. And then it has a link over here on the different competencies. So this is how you would get to each one of those curriculum that Tina alluded to earlier. And I'm just going to pick one. So there's a little summary for each of them that gives you just a little tidbit of information, and then you can click in it to explore the competency further. And it gives you yet another long summary. But right over here is where you would download the curriculum. They range in page length. They are hundreds of pages. Not really riveting reading to like sit down and read as you're trying to relax, but it's just a lot of awesome content. So I encourage you all to go and look at it. Fresh off the press, you're hearing about it here almost first, but we have these executive summaries. The core committee subgroup spent a ton of time on these. I'm just going to bring one up. They are, again, another overview. It talks to you about the learning objectives. We have different activities in our curriculum, so it kind of goes through those. Goes through each of the sections that are in there to give you, okay, what really is in the leadership section? Is it going to talk about this? Is it going to talk about that? It's all there. And then it gives you these amazing resources at the end. So Janet and Norman are in the room. They were part of the committee. Oh, and Kent, I didn't see him behind Greg there, but it was a lot of work this year and something really cool and a new resource for NACOM. So that's something out there for you all. Tina, did you want to talk about the self-study, the ways to use the core?
Yeah. So we have, when we first developed, I talked about the history and we developed these core competencies, and Kelly alluded to that, the curriculum. So those 200-page documents, that was kind of the original aspect of it. It's like you could go there and learn about each of these competencies by pulling down basically kind of a manual, an operational manual that has all of the table of contents and all of the information. And you just do it on your own. And then we said, okay, well, we also offer it at conferences. And so those were kind of our only two options, right? You come to the conferences and we're not doing a full-blown session because each of those competencies, 200 pages, that's 5 days. That's 3 days, right? 2.5 days. I've seen some instances. It's a lot of material to cover. So we boiled it down to bite size, right? An hour-long session, a 75-minute session to just kind of focus on one area and make sure that people understand kind of that high level. So conferences were the next one.
We also had webinars. So the core committee hosts 2 webinars a year. We just had one on leadership. And is it February? January, there'll be one on operations management. So you'll see emails on that. And then in about 2020 to 2022, the board really spent a lot of time identifying gaps in our education. So one of those were, what if you cannot get on those 2 webinars and not everybody can afford to come to New Orleans in July and spend 4 days out of the office. So how can we get this education to the members that aren't coming to conferences? So then we develop what we refer to as the Core Champion Program. And it was meant to expose the core to the rest of our members and also give people credit for attending these sessions at conferences, watching them later, or catching these webinars. So we also developed this new website. It talks about our core champion program. I'm just going to kind of briefly go through it. I hope you all have heard about it. Again, my heart will break a little bit if you haven't, but that's what we're here for. I'm just trying to find this. Maybe it's not in there. Anyway, so as Tina went through, there's all those curriculums, so we recognize the attendance for those sessions. But we also give these cute little awards to everybody because who doesn't want a certificate on their wall, right? It's just a recognition. It feels good. You can go home from a conference and say, yes, I attended these sessions, and here is the proof, right? It's also great for our new court professionals. Not everybody can afford to go to an ICM program and things like that. So there are 5 certificates that you can obtain by participating in our program. So if you remember, Tina talked about the vision and the principle and the practice. If you complete modules in all of them, so 1 in each, you get what's called a Core Explorer Award, which means you're kind of just figuring it out a little bit, right? If you complete the curriculum for all of that, so in 1, there's 2. So if you complete those, you get a certificate for being a practice specialist or a principal specialist. And then there's the all-coveted Core Champion Award. So once you complete all 13, you will be sent an application to be considered a core champion. And what that entails is you have to write a short essay about your journey in the core champion program, things that you learned, how you're going to use it in your court. And then yesterday, because you were all at the business meeting, right? I saw you all there. It was all you. But we created an award that you can put on your desk. It's a little slate placard. So it's just recognition of the time that you spent. And what did I miss on that?
I think you're also able to get your information, if you want your article published in the Court Manager or in the Court Express. We acknowledge everybody in those publications, our core champion winners, receivers of the certificate. But you can also, like you said, have your article published. But if some people don't want that, that's okay. We can also just take an excerpt of, how did it feel to go through this? How have you used the program? How has it helped you, right? And we can just quote you in one of those. And if you want to be quoted, Janet Cornell is the person to see. She's waving her arms.
All right, so I know all of you are asking, how do I participate in this program? So you come to the Core Champion website if you're not at a conference, and it says right over here, start the Core Champion program today. So you would click this little link here, and it brings you to a page that has a plethora of videos that are qualified for the Core Champion program. You can filter them by competency. So if you know that you just need accountability and court performance left to obtain a certificate, you can click on it over here. It'll filter it. You can see my hand waving on the screen here. It'll filter it, and then just the videos that apply to that competency will show up. But they're all YouTube videos. So you click on it, it'll bring you to the YouTube video. And then how do you get credit? Because I'm not tracking what IP you have. And then looking up to give you and check the box. So we have these structured response tests. So I'm just going to click on this here so you can see it. And you fill out your name, your job description. This is all so we can track it on the back end to make sure that Greg Lambard is the same Greg Lambard in New Jersey and it's not a Greg Lambard in Michigan. So each video has a question or two or three that you have to answer. So I'm just going to select one of these so you can see what that looks like. So the questions will change based on what video you watched, and you just have to fill out this little box here. It's generally about 6 sentences. You can use more. I encourage you to use more, because if the committee that reviews these feels that they want more, it's going to get sent back to you anyway. And then you hit submit down here. And then it comes to a committee and we review it, and then we let you know if we have approved or if we would like more information. And then we track all your progress. Anything else? Okay. So what else? We have been, as a committee, and I think Greg will get into this a little bit later, where are the gaps now? We have reached out to the people that can't get to conferences. You can do this self-study. You can do all of these things. But we decided over the last year that we're going to bring NACM to you. We worked with SJI to get grant funding to present short little 60 to 90 minute presentations to organizations. You can build a whole day's curriculum based on this. So we have 2 programs. One is called Unleashed. That's fully SJI funded. We come into a region or a court, we invite the areas around it, and we teach about the core. So that has a set of 6 curricula that we go through. People that participate can walk away with 2 of those core champion certificates. And then the other thing that we recently created is a build your own. So your organization, your state can tell NACM what you need, and we can design a program and either do webinars or come out in person and present the content. That's still kind of in the early phases, so it's nowhere on the website that I can tell you to go to, because we're still working through some of the logistics. We have about 5 projects in the works right now, and we want to make sure that we have the capacity to do all of this before we're rolling it out to the nation, because it's pretty cool stuff. Next, Want to talk about using the core in your state and the program?
Yeah, so one of the things we've been talking about the core, you've been going to the sessions. It's like, well, how do we use it? How do people use it back at home? And you can do it personally, right? But in Pima County, what we did, we had a leadership academy, and we had our staff who were interested in promoting. So they kind of go through some basic Supervision 101 type things, soft skills. And then the other option they had in our court was to go through the ICM programs to get the certified court certified executive, CCE, CCM, all the initials, CCE, CCM. And then ultimately fellows. And Arizona is a consortium state. So we have that program through our Supreme Court. But from our Leadership Academy, which is kind of small, to the ICM classes, there was this really large leap, if you will. So we said, okay, let's embed the NACM Core Champion program and offer that. And so we've offered that to our leadership staff. We've offered it to all of our staff, just so they get some high-level foundation information about these core competencies to be working in courts. But what I heard in talking about this and talking to other states, and again, this is why conferences are so great to network with other individuals. I heard somebody say, yeah, we do that, but we actually sit down as a team. It's not a self-study. It's not the staff member goes off and do it. They bring everybody in the room. They sit and they watch the 1-hour video, and then they talk about it. And what does that look like in our court? And I thought that was pretty powerful. And so all of you back home, yeah, we're going to be doing this. But that was one way. Another way is through the state associations. So regional associations, we've got PACM, we've got MACM, there's all kinds of acronyms out there. They also are doing something similar where they're bringing some of these sessions and just talking about it with their members, or like having coffee conversations, or, bag lunch, over the lunch hour, show a video and then talk about it. So has anybody else, I see a hand over here, Mr. Microphone.
Roger. While you're walking over there, Jeffrey corrected me. We do have a page out there that talks about our 1 day unleashed. So that's up there. Go ahead.
Found it.
I will forget my question, so I said, let me raise my hand now. So if you do the group training for one of these, how does each individual then record themselves for having taken that training?
So they would just go to the website then and fill out we call them SRTs for short lingo, but they would just go there and fill it out, and their individual response would come to the team. Yes, so it's free to all members. This is a member benefit, but if they are a non-member, they can pay $10 per submission. And that includes for the article they have to write at the end. So it would be $140, which our membership is $150.
So you might as well join.
You might as well
right?
join. Yeah.
Anything else? Has anybody else seen how this is used, or can anybody else share?
I'll share, Tina.
Okay.
So in North Dakota, I started piloting in one of my clerk's office, 2 deputy clerks going through the Core Champion program. And they did it, as Tina discussed, self-paced, self-study. So I gave them a deadline of a year, because that's how long our memberships are for, because I wanted to make sure they were utilizing their membership and having the benefits. So they went through on their own, and then I met with them after, and I said, well, what did you think? Give me the tea. I want to know how this was for somebody in your position and how we can roll this out. And as we were talking, I went, why wasn't I talking to them this whole year? Like, why are we not doing this? So I stole an idea from Roger. And what we're going to do moving forward, I got with our education director, and we're going to pick about 15 people across the state, and we're going to do more of the facilitated discussion, because we all live like 6 hours away from each other in North Dakota. We're going to have the members or the participants watch the videos on their own, probably a couple videos, and then we're going to get together like every other month and discuss those videos. We also are a consortium state, so we have a lot of people that can teach ICM, so we're going to bring our subject matter experts. So if we're doing the budget video and operations management, we're going to bring those experts in to our facilitated discussion, so they can talk about it a little bit too, so it's just a little bit more application. And our Clerks Association just decided that each year at their conference, they're going to have a core speaker come in and talk for a portion of their afternoon. So that's how we're rolling it out.
Roger, do you want to add anything about how you did it in?
Sure. Well, I want to add, well, Kelly said one of the programs that we do that same thing. Our trial court administrator made all of our supervisors NACA members. So that was the first step. And I think that was really powerful. So it was about 32 supervisors in Multnomah County in Portland, Oregon, and all of them are NACA members. So they are all participating in the Core Champion program. But we also are just about to start a new program where we're using one of the NACM competencies as a leapfrog to improve a business process. So we are going to have a 2-part session on Katie Hemphill's Core Champion program that she did on onboarding. And she did that at a former conference. And we're going to watch that in 2 sessions. And how we do that is we sit a group of supervisors who volunteer. They're not told to be here. They volunteer to be a part of this Core Champion program. And they're going to watch this. As Katie asks questions of the audience at the conference, we pause the video and then ask those questions of the supervisors. And we do this over a 2-day period because it's an 1.5-hour presentation. And then at the end of that, we're going to ask those supervisors in attendance, which of you would like to be on a work group? We want to do a work group on how we can improve our onboarding program in our court. Those volunteers will then get together and come up with best practices for the court for onboarding. And I can work with them as the IT manager to develop a SharePoint site where they can then put those best practices into practice. And it's really a great example, I think, of putting the core into practice.
Roger, you're a genius.
All right, what's next?
Do you want to talk about conference development?
I do. Okay, so as president-elect, one of my duties is to chair the Conference Development Committee, and this session was kind of put on by we're sponsored by the Conference Development Committee and the Core Committee, and Kelly or Greg will be talking about the Core Committee. These committees are really important. Obviously, we wouldn't have a conference if we didn't have a conference development. That's what we do. We identify the sessions, we rate them, we get proposals at the beginning of the year, well, actually around September, October, we start looking at all of the proposals for mid-year and annual. So why this is important, as you guys are sitting listening to the sessions, saying, you know what, it would have been nice if they would have either delved deeper or if they would have talked about this. Those are the things that we want feedback on. And so that's why we keep mentioning, please go into your apps and rate your speakers and provide feedback, because that's really important. It's going to help this committee make decisions for the future. But if you like helping out in the background, if you like developing ideas for what should be the content for our conferences, if you like helping with the social event, did you guys have fun? My voice is a little, because of that. Band was really good, but they were loud. So there's that. Our vendors were, Infax actually sponsored that band, so round of applause for them. Thank them if you go over to the exhibit hall. But that kind of items, we have our next year in 2025 is going to be our 40th anniversary of NACM, right? So that's going to be a very big celebration. So again, if people like also party planning and helping with those things, Conference Development Committee is the place to be. We also look at the awards. We're going to be giving out awards on Thursday. And so that we also have scholarships for the conference. So these are things that you as members, if you're interested in, see any of the board members, we have a sign on the back of our lanyards to sign up for any committee, any of the committees that you meet. But you don't have to just come and see what we do at the Conference Development Committee. Now I'm going to let Greg talk about the core committee and why his is more important than anything else.
Good morning, everybody. So I just put up on the NACM website, clicked on the committees button here, and it's a great way to quickly find the committees that you might be interested in. And when you go into it, get this lovely welcome message from the current chair. And then you can see past minutes. We post them all up there, agendas. You can got the Zoom link right here. You don't have to be a member of a committee to jump into a committee meeting. It's fine. Just jump in. And you don't have to actually talk. You can sit there and listen. That's fine, too. I mean, this national thing can be a little intimidating sometimes. So maybe just sit back and listen and, but with that said, you are more than welcome to participate. We want all of you to be part of this because it's just going to get better and better that way, right? So, the core committee is probably one of the better ones, but there's other ones out there. I don't know, So if you are interested in the core, one of the things when I first found out about all this, I really was impressed with is, first off, we stand on 20, 30 years of work with the core. Like, this didn't just happen. I mean, there are people in this room who were key to bringing this up. There's people here who were original authors, and that's what we built on. But what, again, is very impressive is we haven't just let that go. Usually every year, the core committee will look at 2 of the core curriculum, and they'll do a thorough review. This year, I can't remember which one we're doing. We're doing case flow and workflow and budget and fiscal management. If those are your areas, please join us. Become part of the review committee. I did this one time, and boy, you want to learn an area, you do this, because you go through the entire curriculum, and they are thick. They shouldn't be. There's a lot of it to learn, right? But you will really learn, and you'll also be able to, see things. I think this changed a little bit, or I know if they're doing this over here, we should incorporate that. Or this practice, although it was good 10 years ago, it's not really state of art, right? And that's the thing. This keeps growing and building, and it keeps getting updated. And if that's what you like, please join us. We need the help. The committee also, as Kelly is saying, is really trying to expand our outreach with the trainings. So part of that is we have started an initial list of core trainers, and we're working with them next month to get them rolling, and we may be deploying them as soon as the end of September. We may actually have a session going on in Vermont while there's a session going on in Washington State, which actually is a little scary, but also very exciting, because this is starting to get a little bit of legs that way. And, if you're part of a regional or state court association and you're looking for some content for your annual conference, just plug us in. We basically just ask for, the basics, transportation and, food and whatever, but there's no training cost, because everybody here is a volunteer organization, and we're doing it that way. And we're also taking pains to make sure that we get enough people that we can cover the entire country geographically, because if it's on your dime, we're court administrators too. We also don't want to spend money to yank somebody from halfway across the country when we could get somebody a little bit closer and save some money. We're very attuned to that. So that's another thing we're trying to do with this. So please think about a committee. If you see one of us, please scan us. We like being scanned. And if you have any other questions, now would be the time. Are there any questions about the core or conference development?
Or any of the committees. Actually, we have one question back there.
Hold on one second,
No.
because we're being live streamed, so.
Yes, sir, thank you. My question was, with the core training, once you start to have the legs reach out to different states, would you offer those trainings also virtually?
Well, we do 2 webinars a year, right? I don't know, I mean, okay, that might expand, but the organization does a lot of webinars, and we try desperately not to overwhelm anybody with webinars or emails or anything, because we know you're busy. But yeah, that would be the main way virtually, except for coming to conferences. But again, if we start hitting your conferences, your regional conferences in this way, you'll be getting it that way too. We have him up here. Roger's on it. He's a good runner, so he'll.
In reference to joining a committee, I know that it says, hey, just log on, but how are you capturing the person's information so that they can get information about what the committee does
So-
outside of just the Zoom meetings?
Well, the regular practice is after the annual meeting, whoever's the chair of a committee will fill an email out to anybody who's been participating. Hey, do you want to still be involved? But through here, you can see who the chair is. Just send them an email. Hey, I'd like to be on the committee. You're on the committee.
Got it.
Usually,
Well, you're on the committee, you're invited to attend, so you'll get the emails, you'll get the agendas, you'll get the updates. That's really all it is once you click on that or once you send an email. It's not that we're going to expect, oh, she signed up for the committee, so let's start. She's now on the committee. It's just, come join us is really what it is.
no. And the committee chairs generally do introductions at the beginning. If they notice somebody new is on, they try to, do a little bit of reach out, or somebody will talk to you in the chat and just say, hey, I see you're new on the call. Do you want to put your email in the chat and we can follow up, or I can get you on the email group.
And our emails are really easy. Mine is tina@nacomnet.org. So you can just email one of us.
Kelly's is complicated.
Yeah,
Kelly's is
I'm the
complicated. She's got an
anomaly.
H.
So mine is Kelly H, because there was another Kelly in NACOM, so it's Kelly H@NACOMnet.
And then the other question I have, because I've signed up for a few committees, but I find it very difficult to log on to the Zoom, because usually when the Zoom is happening, I'm in court. Usually whatever. So I guess I'll reach out to the committee chair just to make sure I'm getting the information. And then do the committees, outside of the conference development, because I know you guys are doing things all year long to plan for the biannual and the annual. Do the other committees do anything just outside of their Zoom calls, I guess?
Well, if you, like this year, Kelly left a very long list of things for this committee to do and then gave me the committee. And then what I did is find people who are willing to be part of working groups, and they met whenever they could meet together,
Yeah, there's different flavors of them. Some of it is the committee, and then there's subcommittees underneath that. Like our membership committee is very large because we have a large organization, 1,800 people. How do we make sure that we're reaching out to all of our members? So we have an early career professional subcommittee for that. We have our international subcommittee underneath membership, and state associations. So if you belong to a state association, we ask those people to join that call, so that way we can maybe partner with the state associations. What are you guys doing in your region? And those state associations come to the call, and they're not as big as NACOM, right? So sometimes it's like, how are you guys doing this in your area? I see a lot of nodding over here. And it's hard. It's hard to run a smaller organization, a smaller nonprofit association for your staff in your state. So making sure you have networking capabilities. What are you guys doing? How are you doing it? So that's a great subcommittee.
And adding,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
adding to it too, if you go through our minutes, you'll kind of see what projects each of the committees are working on. And if you say, oh man, I want to work on that curricula, I really like that, you can kick them an email too. But NACOM also has a strategic plan that we put out every year. So that's under the who we are, and then over here in strategic plan. But that kind of lists out some of our projects. And then it's really cool. It actually tells you what committee it's assigned to. So if you wanted like a slightly one-stop shop to see the big things we're going to be doing in the next year, this is where you could go. And then there's just the regular projects that wouldn't be listed in here. But what was your question?
One more question. I was giving him a rest. The association as a whole, I guess, can anyone join if they are a part of the court system, I guess?
Yes.
Anyway, okay, in any, I guess, facet of work, whether you work in the clerk's office or wherever. Because when I joined NACM, I didn't really join in, how can I say this? I was under the impression that I had to be a certified court manager in order to be a part of NACM.
Oh my gosh. I love that you asked that question because it is a perception, right? It's in our
Right,
name.
I'm like, court manager, okay, well, I have to do this first in order to be a part of this association. So obviously that is not the case.
No, that is not the case. And you've heard us saying that a lot of our states are now pushing it down to our supervisors. This is a place for us to grow and to learn. So we want any level of staff, but I can't afford 100 memberships. So maybe that top echelon supervisors and above. But yeah, anybody, and we also see some justice partners that have joined NACM because they work so closely with the courts. Probably some of our vendors are members as well, too. Academics, yeah.
My administrative assistant is a member of NACM. She's participated in the core program. She works in admin too. Like, she should have an understanding of these topics.
So I was there at the beginning, and we had to choose a name for the organization back in 1984, 85. And it was a merger of two previous organizations, the National Association of Trial Court Administrators, which leads you to believe, okay, you had to be a trial court administrator to join it, which was true. And the National Association for Court Administration, sort of in general. And we merged, and there was a debate about what should the new name be. And one of the options was, of course, National Association for Court Management, National Association of Court Managers. That was debated. And we chose for Court Management, which was intended to send the message that it is not an exclusive club of just court administrators, and it's open to anybody. And we made sure that we were what we deemed to be the big tent organization, so that if you were an academic, and we were back then, it seemed that we had a whole lot more academics from universities and such who were active in joining it. And I think that's kind of fallen away over the years. But other justice agencies, you didn't have to be a manager. You could be a frontline counter clerk.
It's helpful.
It was fine. And that's still the case. But yes, that confusion happens. And you often hear people say, misdo our name. They'll say National Association of Court Managers. Mm-hmm. People still say that, but that's, of course, wrong. And so if you ever hear that, correct it.
Thanks, Norman.
Thank you, Norman. Anybody else? Any other questions? This is great. I'm so glad that you asked that. And we are going to stand at the door with the scan me sign, so that way you can just kind of hit it as you're walking out. Anything else?
No, we'll just be here. They need moving.
I think that'll do it. Do we have any questions in the chat? Anybody monitoring that?
Yeah, Jeffrey was.
All right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference. All right. Thank you.